All right. So as we are growing and we're thinking about different ways to scale, when you're doing physical products, you run up into a ceiling. And that ceiling is money for inventory. And I think we've all felt that pain point, especially if you're going into a peak season. You're like, well, how else do I grow? Especially if I want to, add on new products and all these other things. It's hard to do when capital is involved. And so to talk about one way that you could potentially grow and not have to spend all your money up front, I have my good buddy Scott Voelker here from Brand Creators to talk about digital products, which could be an opportunity a lot of us are leaving on the table in the e-commerce space. And so, Scott, thank you for coming back on the Maximizing E-commerce podcast.
Yes, it is good to be back. It's really good to be back. And yeah, I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah. So, you were on episode 4 of the Maximizing E-commerce podcast.
Wow. What are we at now?
This will probably be 73, nice. I think.
Okay.
I think 73. I think I just
nice.
I think I just did 72. So okay. I think as we're recording this, I think I'm just going to put you out next week. So exciting stuff. So let's just help fill people in a little bit that, maybe they're like, Scott inspired me when I was early in my entrepreneurial journey, which I'm in that same camp, to, sell on Amazon. So where's Scott been in the last couple of years? For those that maybe aren't 100% familiar, kind of help fill them in.
Yeah, well, Scott's still been here. And Scott's done a lot. He's rebranded the podcast. It used to be, The Amazing Seller. Now it's Rock Your Brand Podcast. And that was all intentional. But, I'm still the same as I was before. We're still serving a market, right? I think that's what it all comes down to. And I was just having this conversation the other day. And it was like, nothing has really changed other than we're not putting all of our eggs in the Amazon basket, but we're just not putting all of our eggs in the digital or in the physical product basket either. Right. And I think when this whole virus thing happened, a lot of people felt the cutoff of your revenue stream because you couldn't get your products into Amazon. Or Amazon wasn't shipping them for 3 to 4 weeks, right? So I think once that happened, people were like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like, how do I prevent this from happening? Or how do I get around this? How can I ship my own products? And then they started thinking about that. So for me personally, like it's kind of come full circle because my story. I started back in the day with a physical product, right? I was selling a physical product on eBay. I was selling some Photoshop templates. I actually sold some projectors, like these video transfer projectors, and I was selling those.
Like you were making those individually, right?
Yes, I was. I'm making good money on them too, by the way. And my whole logic there, Kev, was I'm going to create this one device. It might take me a day, which literally probably took me about 4 to 6 hours to build this thing from start to finish. And then I would sell it for between $700 and $800. So 4 or 5 hours, I'd sell one a week. I'd make an extra $700, $800. Not too bad, right? And I ended up selling 2 to 3 a week, and then all of a sudden I'm still running my photography business, my video transfer business, and I'm building these things on the side. Anyway, long story short is I also got introduced to digital products, and that's where my mind totally shifted. And so when this whole thing happened where I started seeing the landscape change. And what I mean by that is like people were still coming in droves, like, oh, this Amazon thing, this Amazon thing, this Amazon thing. And that's where I really got my start in the, online space as an educator, because I was showing people what I was doing. And then also kind of letting them know, like, you can build a brand. And I never said sell one product, never find a fidget spinner then a spatula and then a glove and all of these different things. Can't leave out the selfie stick. So, it wasn't, ooh, that's a sore subject for some people. They're like, that was me.
I'm sure.
Right.
So, it sounded good at the time.
It did, and then 100 other people did it. But, so it always came down to like building the brand. So when this all started happening, I was like, I can either still try to make this work, or I can take people where I'm going and not care that I'm not keeping up with everyone else as far as like, okay, this guru popped up, this guru popped up, this guru popped up. I'm kind of hanging out there. I didn't want that. So I'm like, I'm going to go over here. If people want to follow me where I'm going, that's where I'm going to go. But to me, the whole thing always has come down to finding the market, finding the niche,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then supplying products that can help serve them, right? And not just one product, multiple products, right? Because it's a lot easier to sell someone another thing of something similar to what they just bought than to go out and find a new customer. I found that out a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So instead of trying to just find the one product and then trying to go all in on that one product, right? It's more about getting a suite of products. But when people started to say, oh my gosh, Scott, like it's hard to even get going because I need $3,000 to $5,000 to get started. And if I want to run a new product, I got to spend another 3 to 5. Then I got inventory. Joe Valley just told us this the other day when we were on the Lunch and Learn at our Brand Accelerator Live event. You make your money on a physical product business. If that's all you're doing, you make it on the sale. It's going to be really hard because the inventory is always taking up the funds. Right? I'm literally going through a deal right now. You know about the deal. I'm going through the deal right now that we're about to close like today or tomorrow. Right? It's been going on for probably 3 to 4. Yeah, it's been going on about 3 to 4 months now after one deal fell through because of the whole virus and all that stuff. But we're going to get paid over, I think at this point, I don't know, $48,000 or $50,000 in inventory. Right? That's money that was sitting in the warehouse, by the way, that I was going to have to wait for Amazon to pay me for, right? Or to a customer to pay for me. So I'm getting that right up front. I'm getting that back. And I'm getting all of the equity that I've built up through the business because of what it's done in the past, right? So that's where you can make your money on a physical product. But now, and you asked the question, where have I been? Where am I going? Well, now it's like, well, how can we create a more profitable business that's not dependent on just physical products? We might still have that as a component, but we can still add digital products to the mix, which I think is totally underutilized by so many brands out there. I bet you I could take 10 different brands, and out of those 10, I would say 6 to 7 of them should be creating a digital product. And if they did, they would add, I don't know, let's just say an extra $1,000 a month minimum. I mean, just by adding a $9.99 ebook, right? Plus, that thing will probably help them sell more of their physical product if they do it right. So to answer your question, Kev, that's what I've been doing. I've been figuring out how to help people with taking their current physical product business and helping them by adding a digital product, an email list, a digital product, those types of things. And then also, how do I help people that are just getting started that can't afford to do a physical product business yet? How do I get those people started? That's where I've been.
Gotcha. So basically, as I'm understanding it just in general from our conversations, and then from what you just said there, is that you're helping people both if they're saying, I don't have the funds to get started with the physical products business, I want to go digital, or I'm running up into that ceiling, or I just want to diversify, or whatever the case is, to add on a digital component to their physical products business. So where would people start looking in their business if they're going to say, okay, maybe I do want to add a digital product? Because, you're not calling a factory in China and saying, hey, here's the funds, please put this on a boat, and 60 days later I'll have the inventory, and then it'll sit on a dock at a Amazon fulfillment center for 6 weeks waiting to be checked in.
Right.
So all that money's sitting there, and then it goes onto the shelf waiting for a customer to buy it. Whereas, as we all know, it's not 100% free on setting up a digital product, but it's nowhere near the capital intensivity, if that's a word, intensiveness of a physical product. So, if they're looking at this saying, okay, that sounds interesting, where do they even start about thinking, to adding it and whatnot?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would do is I would start looking at your market. And it's exactly the same process as like validating if you can find a product to sell in your market, right? There's probably already digital products that are selling, right? So I would become aware of my market and who are the bigger players maybe, or ones that are coming up when I'm doing searches. And I would start to explore their products or products that they're promoting. Because if you go to a site, not just a physical product site. Now, if you sell, let's say that you sell fishing poles, because we always talk about bass fishing.
Sure.
And I think we had a guy the other day that said at our networking party, he said, every time I said bass fishing at Brand Accelerator Live, he took a sip of wine. Man, oh man, that guy had to be feeling tipsy at the end of that day.
Oh yeah.
So
The next morning was probably pretty rough.
right. So so let's just say, for example, you sell physical products and
Hmm.
let's say it's bass fishing rods
Hmm.
and reels and lures and those types of things, physical, right? But you also find there's another site over here that doesn't sell any of that stuff, but all they do is they are an affiliate for maybe even your stuff or someone else's stuff, and they're getting 400,000 page views every single month coming to their website. And now they're just pointing people to your stuff, which is great, right? But then maybe they also have their own digital products. Okay. And one person that comes to mind is over at Swim University. I interviewed him, and he basically has two digital products, and everything else is affiliate stuff, right? But
Mm.
he's doing, I think last year he had over 3 or 4, maybe even more, million page views for swimming pool like care. Okay, affiliate stuff alone made over $300,000. No physical product, although he could sell his own
Hmm.
skimmer buckets and all whatever that stuff is, right? The
Right.
poles and all that stuff. But he's got two digital products. He's got one for a care guide for your pool, and another one is for hot tubs, right? So
Mm.
he created those two products. So what I would do is if I sold swimming pool stuff, just physical stuff, I'd go to his site and look and see, okay, what kind of content can I create? And in that content, can I also create a digital product that I can offer the people that are buying my fishing, or I'm sorry, my swimming pool, covers, or, floats, or whatever else I'm selling, right? So I
Hmm.
would look at the market and see what is already out there, and is there an information product that's already being sold? Can I create one? I'd go to Kindle. I'd start looking my market. I would look at how to catch more bass. I would look at Kindle. I'd see if there's a Kindle book for sale. If there is, I wouldn't necessarily sell it on Kindle. I'm just identifying that there's something that's being sold as a digital item, and then I would take that and then I would use that as my own product on my own website and start really using that as a product that I could sell.
Cool. Now, I know you have a good answer to this, but some people listening to this might be saying, well, but my product's boring, or, fishing is a hobby niche. And so people are going back to that well, so to speak, constantly looking for information or looking for,
Mhm.
another product to buy to give them an edge. What about someone who says, but my product's boring, or, it's not something that people are excited about? Like
Mm.
they have something that's, let's say they're selling air filters for
Mhm.
their, air conditioning air filters. Like, where would they go in your mind to find, like,
Yeah.
are they niching up? Are they niching across? Like, where do they kind of start looking?
Well, we'd have to. So first off, let me just say that not all markets are going to lend themselves to a digital product.
Good point.
Period. I mean, I'm not
Hmm.
going to sit here and say every market, like you're going to sell
Right.
air filters and you're going to create a digital guide on air filters. No,
Hmm.
not going to sell probably, right?
Right.
Like, so yes, if you're listening to this and you sell air filters, you're probably not going to be able to create a digital product. And if you are, maybe that air filter is for maybe someone that's into health, and in health they want clean air because they can sleep better, right? So now
Mm.
you come up with a how to get a better night's rest, or how sleep is important, the 5 things that you need to know to get better sleep. Like, so what is the air filter doing for that market? Is
Hmm.
it just a generic air filter, you just buy that you slap in every 6 months? Or is it one that's purifying the air here in my office so I can be healthier, I can have more brain clarity, all of those things? So now I'm digging a little bit deeper in the market to see where it lands. But to that point, like, yeah, I can't say that every market is going to lend itself. That's why if I was starting and I'm looking at a market, I'm looking to make sure that I can fill that 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 area of the business. But if you already currently have a business, then you got to ask yourself, does it fall in that realm?
Well, and also too, like, what are the similar products that people are buying, like
Yeah.
on Amazon? So
Mm-hmm.
bought with this, bought with that,
Mm-hmm.
and I started thinking about it actually as you were talking. I started thinking, like, the person that buys air filters might also be the person that does projects around the house, and they might be into DIY stuff. And
Yep.
so maybe there's that angle too. So
Mm-hmm.
like there's probably one of those things, like to your point, it's not going to work for everything. But if you like, I think if people challenge themselves they probably could find some niche, even if it's not, I'm going to make the best website about AC air filters.
Mhm.
That's probably not going to be the best use of their time.
Right.
But maybe if they dig around, kind of sideways, they can probably
Mhm.
find something. So let's say they've now found that angle where they
Mhm.
think there really is, whether it's search traffic or, people are already buying Kindle books, or
Yep.
there's websites selling things. Now that they've started kind of digging around, they can find that niche. So now what are they starting to do to decide, like, what is it I'm even going to sell?
Yeah. Well, what I would do, and I think an easy strategy here, and
Hmm.
I this is actually what we teach inside of our Brand Creators Academy, is basically I think you should be creating content for your brand no matter what.
Mm,
Right. So if you, and even if you are, let's say that you are selling air filters, which I think,
right.
I would probably not say, like, if I was doing it, I would start there. But if
Right.
you were, let's just say that you were, there's still probably content that could be created that people would find if they searched on Google, and then they would be led back to your website to potentially buy. Right. So I think there's always a place there for that. But let's say that we're talking about, maybe it is, we'll go in a different direction here. Let's say, and I just literally got off in an interview, and I was just talking, I just interviewed
Yeah.
Darren O'Lean, who was on the show, the smashing hit show Down to Earth with Zac Efron. And we talked a whole bunch about water, like water
Right.
in general, just
Okay.
water, right?
Hmm.
Like, you think that water is just like water, right? But
Right.
someone like me that's into health and fitness and all of that stuff, like, I know water means more to myself than maybe someone else, right?
Mm,
And so now that I've been educated a little bit on water, right, I want to explore it a little bit more. And I would buy an ebook on how to basically create my water from home, and I would buy that book for $9.99. Right.
mm,
And so, I mean, he brought up this thing, which was kind of crazy. He was like, and you can have, like, 12, 12 hacks to create better water from the comfort of your own home, like something like that. Right.
mm,
One of the things was, because, he talks a lot about water has energy, and water, if you shake up the water, it has more energy because it's got a little bit of fizz to it, like all of these little
mm.
things. Right. But the one thing he said was, like, if you have a reverse osmosis, which you should, put a little Himalayan salt into it, and then you put it in a blue bottle, not a plastic, a blue bottle, and
Okay.
then you actually put it in the sun outside. It gives it more energy. So when you drink it, the water is giving you more energy. It's also absorbing into your cells more, and all of this
Hmm.
stuff, right? So where I'm going with this is, who would have thought that that's even a thing to someone
Right.
that it doesn't pertain to? Doesn't matter. But I might sell those blue bottles, right? That
Hmm.
people know that they're, because I'm gonna actually go try to find some blue bottles as soon as we get off here,
Is that a
right?
brand blue?
I don't know if it is or not. He did mention there's a blue bottle company, but they're literally, they're glass, they're blue.
Oh, okay. Got it. So just the bottle itself is the color blue.
Yeah, it's like almost like a
Hmm.
wine bottle you can,
Got it.
buy. You've seen them at restaurants and stuff,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
even this, he said, on the edge, if you put a message of gratitude, like love, right,
Okay.
peace, right,
Hmm.
like, two things happen there. One is the etching in the glass, and this has been, I guess, proven by science, that it actually gives the water more energy, which I don't know. It sounds kind of out there, right? But the
Yeah.
other thing is, when you're drinking that water, you see that message, and all of a sudden you're thinking love, right? You're
Hmm.
thinking gratitude, like it brings in positivity. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is, if I sell those bottles for people that want to energize their water, I could probably create an ebook about how to get better sleep,
Mm.
how to have better, better water filtration, right? Like
Hmm.
because there's actually these machines out there too that you can buy. They're like $1,900 that basically take the air, the humidity, and they basically they take it almost like a dehumidifier, and they put it into a little reservoir, and then you basically have that as your water, so it's pure.
Hmm.
Like, just crazy stuff, right? That would lend itself to a digital product. So what I
Mm.
would say is, figure out in your market, like, what kind of content would your market want to find in the first place?
Hmm.
And then secondly, I would then plan out maybe it's 10 different blog posts
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be on my website, but also would be chapters in a book.
Mm.
See, so I'm mapping that out ahead of time. I'm going to take those pieces of content, publish them on my website. And then from there, I can take those, compile it, tweak it, and turn it into an ebook. Some people would say, but Scott, it's already on your website. How are you going to sell it? Not everyone's going to find all that content, and people want to be able to download it and have, access to it a lot easier, right? So the thing is you want to look and see, what does your market need information about? And then from there, can you organize that in a way that can be turned into a digital guide of some kind? Now there's other things you can do digitally, but the digital guide is like the easiest right now. Like super easy. You can probably produce one for under $300 even if you had someone do it for you. And then from there, you got a digital asset that you can sell forever.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you can have this digital asset that you can sell. And if it's tied into your physical products, you also now have a customer list once people are purchasing this. And this is one thing I've really come to learn, is that customer is king, or queen. And at the end of the day, the person who's pulled out their wallet and voted to say, I trust this company to purchase for whether it's information or a product, a physical product, they're more likely to come back because they've voted really to themselves. I trust this. And so people go to great lengths to prove themselves right. And so they're more likely to come back to you than if you just, get a list of people from the internet and spam them all with your offer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So now we've got this physical product. So I like the concept of, the blog post, because at least it kind of gives you the sense of get moving. And it could be one of those things, if you don't like writing, it's one thing we talked about at Brand Accelerator Live was talking to your phone or record something for YouTube and then have somebody transcribe it and then maybe change it up, edit it to be more in a format for readability. So now we've got this. So what are we doing to get people to buy it? So, where do we go here?
Well, there's a few different ways that we can approach this. And the first way is, if you already have a website, you put it on your website, right? Like put it there, like let people know it's available, let people know it's for sale. So the first place is your website. If you don't have any traffic on your website, still put it on your website, right? Like you could have some traffic there. And what I would do is I would build my email list, right? Like, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Like if I have an email list, I can send people to that offer, right? That guide. I could put it in my PS. I can put it in my super signature, which is basically below the PS. Like I can do all kinds of cool things when I have the email list. But if I don't have the email list and I have a website that gets some traffic, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on there. I'll give you an example, Kev. I just did a hot seat yesterday with one of our Brand Creators Academy members, and he just bought a website. And that website, I'm not going to give it away, but it's he paid $30,000 for it. Okay. And it gets right now about 45 to 47,000 visitors every single month. And I think page views is up around 60,000. Okay. Now, just with that alone, he doesn't have one physical product right now. Now he could, but right now he bought that as is for $30,000, but he's getting paid from ads that are running on that site, right around $1,300 to $1,500 a month passively. Okay. So that's number one. So I'm not even going there. I'm just laying it out here for you. So he's got that. So we got on a call and he's like, Scott, I just bought this site. I need some advice. What do I do first? So the very first thing that I looked at is I go, okay, well, the site's getting traffic. That's good, right? We need two things. One, we need an email list, and two, we need a product. Right?
So wait, there was no email list for this website?
No email capture.
45,000 people a month going to it, and they're not capturing emails.
Not one email.
Wow.
Okay. So his homework assignment right now he's doing, which will be done probably by Monday, is to have a lead magnet. I don't even care. I said, I don't even care what it is. Find your top blog post, turn that into a PDF and put that up there as a free download, and then start collecting those emails. But here's the other thing. Okay. So he's going to be basically now doing that. And then he's building a digital product, or he's he's going to have a digital product on the site, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the crazy thing, Kev. The person that owned it before him already created a digital product, but didn't know how to sell it. So he's got an ebook with it's 107 pages.
Okay.
Done, created. So what was the next thing I told him to do? Put it on the website.
Right.
So basically he's got the two components going to be, set up to where now what he's going to do is he's going to capture the email. He's going to collect the email on his email list. And he's also in the background, he's going to have a little thank you page, which is going to make the offer for the digital product. And then even if they don't buy it, they're going to land on the website, and on the website, it will be there again for you. So what I'm trying to kind of lay out here for everyone is this is someone that has traffic, but doesn't have an email and doesn't have a product to sell, right? But he is making decent money just from passive, ads running. But there's so much opportunity. So if you are listening to this and you have any traffic at all, number one, you should be building your email list. But number two, get a digital product up there so you can make an offer to those people. And guys, like if you're listening and you are selling physical products, it's going to take 60 to 90 days, depending, to get it sourced, to get it up there, get it live, and get some traffic to it, right? And then you got to do a launch with it. You got to run pay-per-click. You're going to do the whole thing, right? I know the system. I know how it works. But we can also go, okay, let's take a day and figure out what our guide would be, our digital product. And then let's take another day and lay it out. And then in another day, let's go ahead and map out how it's going to get done, and then just do it. Even if you paid $1,000 to have that thing created, you've got a digital asset now that can be sold on your website as soon as it's done. And we got to wait for nothing to get it delivered. We're talking instantly.
Right.
Seems like a no-brainer to me,
you're not
Kev.
putting it on a factory or on a boat from a factory from China and waiting for it to clear customs and all this. You could literally hit the button and it's ready to go. So yeah, I'm totally on board with you there. So now that we've got the product, it's up and running, we've added it to the website. That's a great example of the guy that's got the 45,000 unique visitors. Like that just sounds like a gold mine waiting to happen. And
it is.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing is as he builds that list, it's just going to compound on itself, which I'm still blown away that somebody would build a website and have that much success and not put even follow our newsletter, like something,
Nothing.
Which follow our newsletter for everyone listening is a very weak call to action.
Yes.
Do not put follow our newsletter,
No.
entice that, going back to bass fishing, you don't throw the hook at the fish, you bait the hook, you put the worm on. And I remember one time I was fishing without a license, and the Florida Department of Fish and Wildlife, or whatever they're called, the cop busted me. But he was it's like, as long as you call this phone number and get a license, he goes, I'm not going to give you
It's
the
great
ticket.
that you got busted for fishing without a license. I wish I was there in a tree on that one. That would have been funny.
Oh yeah, it was good. And well, the funny thing was, I'll be 100% honest on this story. So this was maybe like 17 years ago, but I was at this park, and we're kind of like, there was this pond. We're like kind of like down this a little bit of a hill, like a slope.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking back, and I see just the very top of a truck.
Yeah.
And the top of the truck had a red and blue light bar. The lights weren't on, but I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of like just gently, I was like, all right, he's probably around here somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and put the fishing pole down. And so he's like, I've been doing this a long, and then he comes up to me like 10 seconds later and is like, hey, I've been doing this a long time. I know you just put the pole down. So if you call this number, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but just let me know what it was. But then he bantered with us about fishing for like an hour. And I actually learned a lot. And one of the things, which is really the point of the story, was he talked about how he goes, you got to entice the fish. He goes, when you're putting the worm on the hook, you can't just put it on there. You got to put it in a way that's like enticing and makes them like want to eat it. And he was like trying to explain like his whole philosophy. I mean, like he was nerding out on like how you put the bait on the hook. And I kid you not, I believe his name was Jay Giles. Hopefully I'm not getting him in trouble, but I only remember this because there was a band in the 80s.
17 years ago. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to listen here.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the statute of limitations is probably up on this one.
Probably.
So state of Florida, I'm sorry. I have a saltwater fishing license right now. So I've been compliant.
All I want to do is watch the video of you setting it down really gently and pretending like you're just sightseeing or looking at the birds. He's like, I've been doing this a long time there, mister. I seen you drop the pole, Kev. I seen you drop it. You're like, no, it wasn't me, officer. It was there. I don't know how it got there.
He was so cool about it. He could have really ruined my day.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, thankfully he was very cool about it. But it's that thing. You got to entice the fish. You got to make it enticing to people. So I think that was really more I was going with the versus newsletter that, whatever your call to action is. So that's a good point though. So now we want to get people onto our email list, which after this long meandering story about,
it's okay. It's good. It's good stuff.
Less than lawfully fishing in Florida. So tell me a little bit about then how you how are you getting people on the list? So let's say you got a traffic and maybe it's not 45,000 people, but maybe it's like you start getting 4 a day, which is still 4 people.
It's 4 people.
There's some shops that are not getting 4 people a day walking into their store.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is just what you just said, right? Create a great, attractive, enticing offer for free and give it to them. Put it up there. And yes, you're right. It's going to be something like 5 crazy ways to catch bass in a pond that you never would think would work. Right? You're like, oh, I want to know what those are.
Right.
And I'm going to go try them this afternoon out in the pond. Right.
Right. Hopefully I have my license. Yeah.
I don't have a license. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes. For the record, time out. Everyone listening needs to get a license for the jurisdiction that you're in. I want to make that clear, but as my official stance, Florida Department of FWC.FL or whatever it is.
Serious about
wherever you go, make sure you
Kevin's
get your
a
license.
rebel. We didn't know that.
Yeah, that's probably about as that and driving 79. That's about as rebellious as I sometimes really get. But anyway,
get that cruise control going to 79, baby. Oh, that's great. So have a very, very attractive, irresistible offer that they're and making it where it's going to be generating some curiosity. They want to know what it is, and you're going to deliver on that promise. And then also your little button there is not going to say sign up or send me the newsletter or subscribe. It's going to say, I want to catch more fish, right? Like something like that. Yes, send me the guide or something like that.
Yeah, so they're opting in for it's even more clear in the button what they're getting.
They're raising their hand once again to say, yes, I want that, right? And so then you get them on your list. So the very first thing is you need the lead magnet. And then from the lead magnet, we need a place to put it. The very first place you're going to put it is your own website because you have it, you own it, you might as well put it there. And if you ever direct anybody from Facebook or YouTube or anything, you've got a URL that you can share that will take them to the landing page, which will be most likely on the website. So that's that has to happen. And then the digital guide comes in really immediately. The way I look at it is it's really simple. And this is exactly what I was telling this gentleman that's in our academy. This is what he's going to be doing. Email capture, get it set up, collecting the lead. From there, you're going to immediately have a thank you page that's going to say, hey, thank you for grabbing your, whatever, your 5 tips to catch more bass checklist or whatever. We just sent it to your inbox. But hey, while you're here, we've got the 101 hacks to catch more bass, right? If you want it, we have a special offer for you for just $4.99 or $9.99, right? Get it here today. And then maybe you have some testimonials of people that already had the guide and they got pictures of them catching more bass. And you're like, it's like a no-brainer offer, right? So you give them that offer immediately. And then from there, if they say yes or no, then they just immediately go to their email, they get the download, and there you go. You've got a great thing that's been delivered to them, and you're starting to build a little bit of rapport. And now you get to follow up with those people on a regular basis. That's it. That's where we're going. So that's where the book gets to be sold in that little pipeline. and it gets to put on our website. Now we can talk about Facebook ads and all that stuff, but we don't need to go there right now. Because if you don't have a lead magnet built, if you don't have a digital product built, we got to go there first. Then we can start talking about those other things.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, one thing I think that will help people to put this into perspective is, I think for a lot of people, especially if you've been selling physical products on Amazon, there's that feeling of almost instant gratification. You send stuff in and relatively quickly you start seeing sales. Now with this, it's a longer road, but help people kind of understand like the cash flow of, let's say, 1 year into each model. And I say do both, but like 1 year into each model, what are we really kind of talking about? Like help people understand the vision, because it's not as instant gratification as Amazon is.
Okay, so I think are you talking more on the content side?
Yeah, so content side
Mm-hmm.
and the and the Amazon side. So, if I'm doing Amazon, I'm putting money in.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not going to be, I put money in and then the next day I get a sale. It's, I put money in, 30 to 45 days later, it's shipped.
Mm-hmm.
Air shipping, super expensive. So I'm probably more likely to put it on a boat than I would have been previously. So now I'm waiting another couple weeks, then, maybe another week or two for it to get checked into a warehouse. And so then, time goes on. Maybe I'm getting sales relatively quickly, but I'm going to be taking that money, and almost once I start getting some sales, before I run out of inventory, I got to buy my next shipment. So I'm very quickly going to be putting either more money into it, or I'm going to be taking that money and hoping to God that I don't run out of inventory before the next stuff arrives. Whereas the physical,
it's a difficult place to be in. I've been there recently, even where you're approaching a busier season, or you're trying to hit a deadline, because if you do, you'll get a better shipping rate or whatever, right? And so you're either trying to purchase enough because you're going to get a better deal, or you're trying to get enough because you have a big rush hopefully coming in. So you spend a good amount of money doing that. It also takes a long time. So, and I'm not saying it's not good to do both. I think it is if you're built for that. So the way I look at it is this. So if we map this out, let's say that we're starting on day one, and you're going to go, you're going to find your product, or you already have your product. You're going to reorder it. And I'm not even talking about like doing a validation piece on like how to find the product and then validate, getting its sample, like doing all that's 30 days easy, right? Well, let's just say that that's already done and you're just reordering. It's still going to probably be 30 to 45 days, right? If you're going to buy a boat, right? So then we get it, and then it sits in Amazon's where, like you said, in their parking lot for 3 weeks or whatever. And then it finally gets shipped in a few at a time, right? And so then you're not able to kind of get going. So let's just call it 60 days, right? In that same, and by the way, when you get it in there and then you start selling, to your point, Kev, you're now getting the money, but any of that money that's coming in, you're probably going to roll back into inventory, or you're going to roll it back into ads. So did you really even net anything yet? Can you pay yourself yet? Right? And I think anybody will tell you, whenever you're starting a business, you usually want to feed the business and keep it going, or you're going to be funding your next product, right? To roll out another product. So let's just say 60 to 90 days. Over here, let's say I go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a digital product. I'm going to give myself 2 weeks from idea to finished product. Totally doable. Totally doable. Okay. 2 weeks. And let's say that I budgeted $500 to do this thing. I'm going to say $500. I'm going to build this thing. It's going to be done. It's going to be amazing. I could immediately advertise it to my email list. Number one. Number two, I can start Facebook ads and drive them to a landing page that either offers it for sale, or I have a lead magnet in front of it, and then on the thank you page, I sell it. I can do that. So in a month's time, I could be doing that. Now, what's the hard cost involved in this? Well, if I'm running ads, it's the ad cost. Okay. But if there isn't any ad cost, and I'm like this guy here that I'm talking about, that we're putting one on his site that's getting 45,000 visitors, there's zero cost. Okay. And the product itself to get it delivered, depending on what I'm using, if I'm using WooCommerce, I can just use their, they have a little plugin that you can use that'll deliver
Hmm.
the good. All you got to do is host it on your website, which you already have hosting. A
Hmm.
PDF isn't going to be a heavy, a heavy item as far as like digitally. It's not going to take up much, space, and they're instantly getting it. So what is the hard cost? Almost nothing,
Hmm.
right? So if I sell, I don't know, sell it for $10, how much am I making on each one of those? If I use Facebook ads, that's gonna depend. But let's just say I'm not using Facebook ads yet because I've got 45,000 visitors like this guy, and I'm gonna instantly put it on there. Whatever I bring in is gonna be just basically almost 100% profit, right? So I look at it like I could probably, like for him right now, my goal for him, and I already told him this, as long as you get that built, we should have that stuff done. He's already got the ebook done. So we should have that on the site in less than 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I don't need to wait for that thing to be shipped. It's already here. So it doesn't, once you get those pieces in place, we can plug and play. Then guess what the next thing is? What's going to be our next digital product? What's going to be our order bump, as we call it? What's going to be our upsell? Now we start having fun with a little bit of a digital funnel. We get to kind of play with some different things that we can add, and we can mix and match, and we can bundle, and we can do all these things. And if you have a physical product, we can lead them to the physical products, right? So that's it in a nutshell there, Kev.
Yeah. And another thing I also kind of wanted to, talk about too is, that you made a very good point that you're probably not taking money out of the business right away. It was probably about 2 years before I really took, maybe even a little bit, maybe closer to like 2.5 years before I really took any money
Mhm.
personally out of my business, because it was, trying to self-fund growth and all this. And eventually it got to a
Yeah.
point, I was like, well, let's take a little bit of money out other than like, money to go to a conference or something like that.
Right.
So I can say this, and now dabbling more on maximizing e-commerce side than actually on my
Mhm.
physical products business. But I see the opportunity for folks who aren't, podcasters and YouTubers, but
Mhm.
if they have a physical products business, there is something they could do with the goodwill that they've already established. They've already established, they've got a
Absolutely.
physical product that,
Mhm.
these two things could go hand in hand. And so, you know, yes, it may not be, if you have the 45,000 person a month website, great. If you're
Yep.
starting from zero, the 45,000 visitor website also started at zero.
Mhm.
Everyone starts at zero. PewDiePie on YouTube, who's like, I don't know, one or two, or pretty high up there. He's got like 100 million subscribers or something like that.
Yeah.
But like, he started at zero. Everyone
Mhm.
started, Scott Voelker started at zero. Kevin
Mhm.
Sanderson started at zero. And so if we look at it as, okay, maybe that might take a little longer, especially if you're going the organic route and not putting money into Facebook ads. But 2 years from now, where will you be if you're
Mhm.
funding it with content or Facebook ads, which will get you there faster? But if you don't have the budget for that, at least content, yeah, it might be slow, but then over time, you do start to see a trickle. And you can use it as a, you know, maybe you could interview people in that niche,
Yeah. Yeah.
and your
Agree.
guide could be 10 hacks from the 10 fishermen. Now all of a
Yep.
sudden, maybe they're going to help you promote it, even if they literally just share it in Instagram stories. Now you've got a
Mhm.
little bit of proof behind you too, because you can take
Mhm.
the screenshot of that and show, hey, this person saved this, or whatever the
Mhm.
case is. And so now you can also add credibility and develop relationships. And so I'm a firm believer your success as an online entrepreneur is going to have a lot to do with your offline relationships. And
Absolutely.
so there's so much you can do. So if you look at it from the standpoint of, if I'm going to go the organic route, it might take a
Mhm.
little longer, but there's still a lot I can do along the way. Where if you look at it, and this was an epiphany I had when, I figured it was you or Chris talking about this, Chris Schaefer, at a Brand Accelerator Live recently, where it was basically comparing the two journeys. It wasn't exactly this, but I kind of took
Mhm.
it that way. Whereas like you compare the two journeys where, maybe 2 years later, now you're starting to take money out of the physical products business
Mhm.
versus the digital one. If you start getting just a little bit of sales, maybe you start with a little bit of Facebook ads and then a little bit more sales and a little bit of Facebook ad, and then your snowball starts to increase. And
Mhm.
so in 2 years, where are you going to be
Yeah.
versus if, the physical products one, Now there's a difference. I think physical products are still great to have because there's just something tangible about it that I enjoy
Absolutely
selling.
Yeah.
But like they don't have to, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both and now
They
all
can support
those,
each other. Yeah.
exactly, all those people that bought your fishing guide or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how to sleep better, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they will potentially buy your water bottle when you email them because they're customers. They're
Mm.
not they're not necessarily just folks on your email list, which is still great because they raised their hand
Mm.
to say they're interested, but now you've got customers. So there's a lot you could do with this. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
so
Kev, before you move on,
yeah,
let me just say this. It's a lot like planting seeds.
yes, that's a great
And
analogy.
so when you're thinking about content, understand that what you're doing there is you're planting seeds today for tomorrow, in 6 months from now, in 3 years from now. Because when you plant a content seed, especially on your website, it's there forever and it's your real
Yep.
estate. You own it. So think about that. It's like this site that the guy bought that's in our academy, the guy started building it 18 months ago, right? He just started to see a spike in traffic about 6 months ago. So it's just starting to hit, right?
Mm.
We built a site similar inside of the academy at zero, and it's been just under a year, and
Mm-hmm.
we're at like about 30,000 a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what I mean? It takes a little bit of time, but once you get it, now I've got 30,000 eyeballs, right? That I can put stuff in front of, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can put an email capture and test it. We can put a little banner at the top that says this week only, you know, special sale, flash sale on our products if we had
Mm-hmm.
physical products, like all of that stuff. So just understand that you're building your own, you know, your own traffic, you know, flow in your business from content, and that can also help you build a digital product through the content creation process. So that's, I just look at it that way.
Well, and that's such a good point because really with Amazon, you're kind of, forgive me for now, what's the word I'm looking for? Taking
Mashing.
two analogies, mashing them together. So with Amazon, you're kind of fishing.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily hunting, but it's fishing. There's a stream of fish and they're just going by and you're throwing in your hook, hopefully with the worm on it in a good
With a
way.
better baiting strategy.
With a better
You
baiting
learn
strategy and
from the
the correct
cop.
license from the state of Florida. And you're throwing it in there and the fish are already there and you're just basically reeling them in, you know, with your keywords and your offer and your images and
Yeah.
all this stuff. You know, all the people that sell on Amazon get that. But then when you're in the content, it really is more of those planting seeds. And if you've ever planted anything in the garden, you know, not every seed you plant grows, but
Yep.
then over time, you have now a plant which maybe it's sending out its own seeds, and then now
Yep.
there's new plants because of the first plant.
Right.
And you know, it kind of starts to take a life of itself, but you have to give it time. You have to water it. You have to kind of give it
Absolutely.
patience. As Jim
Yeah.
Rohn would say, don't give me your need, give me your seed. I think he said
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So, well, let's move along and now say, okay, now that they have the digital products and they're starting to get the email lists and there's, you know, maybe they want to start diving into Facebook ads. So let's just talk a little bit about that journey with Facebook ads,
Sure.
because I know we kind of touched on it, but I want
Yeah.
people to kind of understand, you know, like how are they targeting people? Like what is
Mhm.
that, just from maybe a high level, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's a couple different things. If you're just starting, you just want to build your email list so you can get more attention to your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to basically use a lead magnet, and you're just going to drive people to that lead magnet. You're going to do targeting, obviously, on Facebook. You're going to try to target the right people. If you already have a website, the first thing you should do right now, even if you're not going to run ads, is install a Facebook pixel. So this way here, you can start building that custom audience in the background, and then you can use that to when you do start creating ads or even using it as a lookalike audience. So that's like step number one, is get that pixel installed.
Mm-hmm.
But building your email list, even if you're just going to build it to 500 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers, and you're going to pay for that list, right? So you're going to basically say, I'm willing to spend, like for me, I'm always willing to spend up to $1 per email if it's the right email subscriber. because I know I'm gonna gain way more down the line, even if it's just getting them to go over to the website to consume the content or share the content or eventually becoming a customer, whatever. But that's worth it to me. So I'll invest again, just like if you're in a physical product business and that's all you're doing, you're always investing in product and you're investing in pay-per-click to basically just get someone to buy your product once. I'm investing $1, let's say, to gain a subscriber that could buy a whole bunch of things. And I get to share with them and tell them what I have every single week. Right. So to me, I'm willing to spend that even if I don't have a way to monetize it on the back end yet. Right. So let's just say like, that's like step one. Step two is really like getting that digital product in the mix or your physical product in the mix so I can make them an offer as soon as I can. So I can try to recoup the ad spend. The holy grail is for me to put $1 in and get $1.10 back, $1.20 back. Like if I can liquidate that, if I can take that dollar and get it back within 30 days, that's like free emails and it's free, people that are interested in my market that I could speak to. Right. So a Facebook ad, it gets a little tricky if you're going at it where I need to make my money back immediately. Generally, that's not the case. And that's why you do want a little bit of a pipeline if you are going to be running ads to get a sale. But again, it's like Amazon. If you have one product, you sell it for $25 and you run pay-per-click, how much are you willing to spend before you go in the negative? And then if you do go in the negative, how are you going to get that money back? You can't communicate with that customer anymore unless you've got something in your insert that you collected an email. How are you going to connect with that person? They bought one product. It did its job. That's it. Right. So to me, it's, if you're going to run Facebook ads, you got to understand why you're doing it. One, if you're building your email list for the first time and you want to build up to 1,000 subscribers and spend $1,000, I think that's a place to start. But then immediately when you have a digital product or a physical product, you make offers to try to recoup that money and then make it so the list is free. And then you can just build on that. And then once you start to get an offer dialed in, right? And what I mean by that is let's say you're sending people from a lead or to a free lead magnet. Your thank you page is going to hit with a free offer, a paid offer. And then maybe you have an order bump that upsells them a little bit. And now you're profitable. Now you just keep putting money in and keep getting money out of the ATM machine. Right. But that takes time. That's not going to happen right out of the gate. That's going to take testing and tweaking and finding the right audience and how to find the right offer and testing certain things. It's, it takes work, but it's definitely worth the time and effort in my opinion.
Yeah. And, some of it is, it takes a little while to practice. I mean, Facebook, I think, is one of those things that if you've played with it, I've spent enough money on Facebook that I've kind of gotten a taste of kind of how it works and what doesn't. And some of it is like, you don't actually know until you've been in the arena. And so, with the digital part, if you just say, goal number one, rather than worrying about retargeting and all this other stuff, which is something for down the road, start with at least what is the product going to be and get it up and running. It's kind of the same thing with a physical product. You didn't start worrying about every single keyword you were going to use for that product before you actually wired money to have somebody make the product. Right. So you have to either you make the product or, the digital product, or you hire somebody to make it, depending on, your budget and your goals.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, now that they've said, okay, this sounds interesting, I'd like to add something to this, because they can start seeing that, it doesn't have to be this, oh, you just wait for Google to just give you free traffic. There are ways you can accelerate it and things like that. And, over time, Google will start to give you more free traffic, and then maybe you get shared more and things like that. But none of that happens if you don't take the first step. So if somebody said they wanted to take the first step and figure out how do I do all this? What is this kind of like the overview? Do you have any resources people could go to look into, maybe adding this into their portfolio of their business?
Yeah, well, I would think the first place to start is, we have what we call our brand creators, the playbook. And basically that walks you through all of the different pieces from, number one, understanding your market, are you niched down enough or in the right area? And then from there, once you are, It's like, okay, now what's my content look like? How do I create it? So it
Mm.
walks you through all of that. Email list building. We have a whole section in there, email list building 101. And then from there, it's like, okay, how to monetize. And there's various ways that you can monetize. Like I had mentioned earlier, I mean, you can turn on ads on your website if you have enough traffic. And like this guy here that just bought that site is getting paid, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of high. He's getting paid about $24.50 per 1,000 visitors that show up to his website. Whether they buy anything or not, whether they click anything,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's just they're showing up as an impression. Boom, getting paid. So it walks you through the process all the way through from beginning to the end. It's about 100 pages, and it's again, it's kind of it's the old saying, you drink your own Kool-Aid. It's like I'm basically doing this right here. This ebook is basically 100-page guide that's detailed with screenshots, and it walks you through how to do it. And my hopes are you get an immense amount of value, and it brings you into the brand creators world. And who knows, maybe you'll become a member of our academy, or maybe you'll join one of our paid workshops, something like that. But it's a really inexpensive way to get started, and it lays it all out for you. So I would say brandcreatorsbook.com is where you would go to check that out.
Well, I mean, and if at minimum they're kind of funnel hacking you, to use that phrase, to see what it is you're doing. Cause like you said, it's your own cooking. So
there will be a bump, and there will be a little bit of an upsell there. So go check it out.
And we didn't really get into that part too. So that's a whole other level of down the road, you can start adding things onto it. So that's all good stuff. So, it's one of those things that, pay attention to when you go out there, and if you're buying products online, whether Brand Creators Playbook or whatever, pay attention. What are the upsells? Start looking at those things. What are they trying to do? And, does it make sense? Like I pay very close attention to that when I see Facebook ads. Sometimes I just click on the sales page to see like, okay, if I add myself in there, what are they going to bump me up on? Those type of things. Or what does their sales copy look like? Because you start realizing there's a little bit of a language to sales copy, which, that's a whole other discussion. So,
Well, I would say though also too, and this is what I don't think people, they're not aware of this, and they need to be more intentional about it. So this is something I do all the time.
Okay.
If I am if I'm buying something, right, I'm going to pay attention to that order flow. So I'm paying attention to the order flow, just like you said, kind of like your funnel hacking, right? But I'm immediately in my head going through this process, thinking to myself, how could this adapt to my business? Right. So as I'm thinking through it, I'm like, if I'm selling people how to play guitar better, I might be looking at my play, or that, like if I was to buy my playbook and see this stuff, I'd be like, how do I give someone a checklist? How does a checklist come into my business? And then how does a playbook come into my business? And how is he adding a workbook that's breaking things down in smaller pieces? Oh, wait, there's this masterclass thing that shows you examples on this one topic. How could I create one of those? So I'm always thinking as I'm going through a sales cycle or a process to see, how does this apply to me? When a lot of people might just be like, oh, that person's just trying to sell me. Pay attention. Use it as a lesson as you're going through it, and say, how could I apply this to my market, to my business? And that's, I think, a big takeaway for a lot of people is to just pay attention. If you're on my email list, if you're on Kevin's email list, pay attention to the emails, pay attention to how, we're writing, how we're messaging, how we're using PSs, like all of that stuff. It's literally a lesson right in front of you, but a lot of people don't allow themselves to see it.
Yeah. And that's so true. And, think of it in the physical products. What have people been doing for years? If you're about to get into a niche, you probably start buying the competition. Or if you want to sell another product, you buy that product and see, what does it look like? You're going to the reviews to see what people like and don't like. Well, now you do the same thing, but in the digital world, you know what? And if it's that bad, ask for a refund. But chances are you're going to go through it and you're going to say, if this person can do this with this, I can do better, Exactly. And so you start finding where you can add a little bit more value. Where can your guide do better? Where's your checklist going to have maybe 2
Mhm.
more bullet points or whatever the
Yeah,
case is?
exactly.
What can be more helpful for people? And so
Yeah.
if you look at it from that angle, what can you learn from them and what can you do better, which is probably something everyone listening who sells physical products has already probably done with
Mhm.
their competitors. So you're just doing the same thing in the digital world and you start picking up a lot of things. And I'll tell you this, the great thing about Facebook, once you've identified yourself as someone who buys stuff,
Mm.
and this, you might not have even bought it through a Facebook ad, but we know we're all being chased around by Facebook pixels.
Yep.
So if you've got the Facebook pixel hider thing on
Yeah.
your browser, turn that off. You
Yeah.
want to get in the
Yes.
funnels. You
Yeah.
want to get pixeled. You
Yeah.
want to see what ads they're running when you don't buy the thing. You want to see
Mhm.
these things because
Mhm.
over time you're going to start learning more. And then if Facebook thinks you're the type of person that buys this type of offer, guess what you're going to see more of? That type of offer. And you're going to learn more about potentially, and it might even be specifically within your niche, similar type of offer, what you're going to do within your niche, or even ones that are maybe, kind of adjacent. You're going to learn a lot. So pay attention. Don't be like, this ad again. Say, they keep serving me this ad. Why is that? So it's just,
Absolutely.
asking
Yeah.
yourself a different
Yeah.
question. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
well, this has been a fun conversation. So where would folks go to check you out? And if they wanted to hear more of what you have to say?
I would say brandcreators.com. And really, if you want to go through and get some training, Kevin, I think we could probably send them to baltickets.com and check out those recordings over there for Brand Accelerator Live 2020, which goes through a lot of this. We have over 9 hours of content over there, and Kevin was the MC for that full day, and it turned out to be an amazing day. So I would say check out baltickets.com, and you'll be able to get the recordings to Brand Accelerator Live 2020, which was full of workshops and trainings that go through exactly what we just talked about here today.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing is, we didn't really talk too much about Brand Accelerator Live. People that have been listening to the podcast for a while probably heard me talk about Brand Accelerator Live, and they may know that, you and I worked together on a live event in Fort Worth last year. It was going to have been in Charlotte this year, but we all know of, the big thing that happened this year, pandemic wise. And so we ended up making it a virtual event. It was just this past weekend as we record this. And people loved it because it laid out basically everything we're talking about, from start to finish, but more of a methodical thing. And it was you, Chris. I do want to give you a lot of kudos for Alexis, your daughter, who I still blows my mind that you have a daughter old enough to be, who she's now a mother herself,
Yes,
but
she is.
she gave a phenomenal presentation on
Mm.
Pinterest. And we didn't
Mm-hmm.
even get into that, but Pinterest could be another great way to get
Oh,
traffic
yeah.
to your thing, to your offers. And we also had Cassidy Tuttle from Succulents and Sunshine, which,
Mm-hmm.
think about a certain type of plants how many people have succulents, but she's created this whole
Oh, yeah.
universe
The
around
little
a certain,
empire on
yeah, a whole
succulents.
empire around
Yeah.
a certain type of plant that you keep around, I guess, in your house. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know much about
Yeah.
succulents, but
I have a few here in the house.
but having her kind of go through like almost email by email, like it was almost too much information, but
Yeah.
almost like really fascinating at the same time
Yeah.
too. Like
Well,
she's
that's why
like,
it's good to be able to watch that back, right?
yeah, exactly. I have to go back and rewatch that myself. So I will be rewatching a lot of that because there was a lot of takeaways for me, which is one of the reasons why I selfishly wanted to have you on the podcast so I could pick
Yeah.
your brain a little bit too here
Yeah.
and
Of
ask
course. Of
questions.
course.
So yeah, definitely go check out baltickets.com. And if anything, look, what does the sales page say?
Mm.
What is the call to action on the
Mm-hmm.
buttons?
Right.
Notice how there's testimonials on there.
Mm-hmm.
Just pay attention to those type of things, even if you have zero desire to purchase it.
Yeah.
Just look at those things and
Yep.
see what is all this. What are they trying to get across? Because we did have people there, and they
Mm-hmm.
were super excited. Which again, whether someone decides to purchase it or not, it's not. It's not going to make a difference in you or I's day-to-day life. But I do think if they at least say, I'm going to have the lesson of going there and at
Sure.
least looking to funnel hack, What is it? What's on there? Or, go to brandcreators.com, your website, and,
Mm-hmm.
You rebranded it, fairly recently. And so, maybe pay attention, especially if they've been following you for a while. Maybe they've seen your old website. Why do you have some of the things on there? And just ask,
Mm-hmm.
these are the type of questions that should be going through your head. If you're looking to get into this realm of when you're going to websites and how do I do all this? So, if they want to learn more, definitely baltickets.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it was laid out really well there.
Yeah, that was
I
awesome.
usually don't do big pitches on this show, but like that's when I'm proud to have been a part of that one. And like you said, I was the MC, so I was a part of that one.
We had
so
a heck of an after party too, didn't we?
yeah, the funny thing
Like
was
a 3-hour long after party.
well, yeah, I'm not sure if that's part of the recordings, but
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay, interesting.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. So it was fun. So we did so it was workshop style where it was basically watching, a presenter throughout the day. But in that one, it was supposed to have been an hour, bring your own adult beverage, basically on
Right.
Zoom. We went for like 3 hours. I mean, it was
3
crazy.
hours. We wanted to make it a 12-hour full event.
Right. We had people in there for 12 hours. So if you do purchase it, just to warn you, you're going to, if you try to consume it in one day, just mark your calendar that you're and hide from the world, that you're not going to be around people for the whole day.
Yeah, no, it's a complete day, and we gave all of the slides. We gave extra downloads. I had 2 bonuses that I threw in there: email list building guide playbook, which is that one turned out to be 100 pages as well. Another digital guide, and then one on Pinterest. That was about 70 pages long with all detailed instructions on that strategy. So that was given away. And we had a workbook that came with it that people fill them all out, and they posted pictures, and they were loaded with notes. So it's a full packed day, but again, you can break it up, watch, one a day if you wanted to, or just pick one that you need help with right now. And one might be the digital product. One might be list building. It's all there. And I'm pretty proud of it. I know you are, Kev. It came out really good, and super excited for other people to be able to take advantage of not having to fly to come to the event, but actually watching it at their, in their home office or their living room with some popcorn.
At their leisure. So yes. Yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for coming on. This was a lot of fun, and I didn't even really, I really didn't have much. I don't have any notes for this. It was just, let's have a conversation about digital products. And so this has been an interesting one. So thanks so much, Scott.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
all you
Thanks,
do.
Kev. Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, man.